Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Wednesday, the 17th of February, Ash Wednesday. Today I was reading Luke chapter 3, the story of John the Baptist's ministry as he goes out, calls people to repentance and says, be baptized. It culminates in the baptism of Jesus. But in the middle, people are coming to him and saying, what must we do to be saved? What should we do? And John answers in verse 11, anyone who has 2 shirts should share with the one who has none, and anyone who has food should do the same. So really saying to people, you need to give a practical outworking of love to your faith. But I was struck by the next verses. Verse 12, even tax collectors came to be baptized. Teacher, they asked, what should we do? Now tax collectors were completely distrusted. They were maligned. They were regarded as sinful. Through the rest of the gospel, that will talk about Jesus having supper with tax collectors and other sinners. So they were not good people. And it would have been very easy for John to say, you cannot be a tax collector if you're going to be serious about God. So leave your job. But he doesn't. Instead, he says to them, don't collect any more than you're required to, he told them. So in other words, do your job, do it well, but don't use it as a means to exploit, and don't use it for self-enrichment. Likewise, it continues, then some soldiers asked him, and what should we do? Now, I'm not entirely certain, but I'm fairly confident that those soldiers were not some Jewish militia of southern Judea. These were probably Roman soldiers, part of the occupying force. And again, John could very easily have won popular approval and said to them, you cannot be part of this army and be serious about God. Leave the army, go and do something else. Instead, he says to them, don't extort money and don't accuse people falsely. Be content with your pay. Again, do your job, do it well, do it righteously, and don't use the position that you're in for self-enrichment and for extortion. Do it well. And it got me thinking about how we treat people as Christians. And I'm convinced that very often, I think we're a lot more judgmental of people. We condemn people so much more easily than what God does. I wonder how many Christians would have given John's answer to those questions. And I think our responses would usually be far more bigoted than what his were and what God is. And so it really is a challenge to me to say, we must deal graciously and lovingly with people, recognizing nobody's perfect. And yes, we do call people to be different. We say to people, yes, you cannot continue what you're doing. You've got to do it better. But we don't tell people you've got to stop what you're doing. Instead, we call them to live their life righteously. Now, clearly, there'll be the odd occasion where there will be somebody, if they're sort of a drug dealer or something, where you can't do that as a Christian. That's clear. But I think there's a lot more that people can do as Christians than we would make allowance for. And sometimes our self-righteousness, I think, will obscure the good news of Jesus, who welcomed everyone, loved everybody, and changed everybody in the process. So may you know that God deals graciously with you, and may you in turn be inspired to deal graciously with the people round about you. And as we do this, God's blessing will flow in other people's lives as well as our own.